Hey guys, it's 2021 now and I'm late to making a video, I believe, and I do not know where my pole thingy is. I need a better selfie stick thing than I've got, and the holder on this is junk, so I feel like putting a rubber band on it because it doesn't really hold the phone very well. But I feel like making a bit of an update video at the same time. I feel like my mum's saying, oh, you're panting or something, and yeah, I just don't feel the greatest at the moment. So anyway, I just want to make a quick update video to, look into 2021 from what happened in 2020. In 2020, we had COVID-19. We still have that ongoing. In 2021, we had within our family, my grandparents sold their property after fighting one last fire. They are now no longer living in the Adelaide Hills. They've sold their property, and the last time we went up was in Mum's car, but we didn't have another car running. The Pajero broke down after 200 kilometres. The Triton's motor got removed, and eventually, surprisingly, the original motor that came out of the Triton went back into the engine bay, and it got installed with the new injection pump. And it's going to run for one last time before doing the full engine swap because of the issues that I have with this motor here. And the issue is the caps are on the wrong way at the bottom end on some. The thing keeps locking up for some reason. I don't know why, other than maybe the bearing cap's been on the wrong way. And the other problem is one of the bolts snapped and it couldn't get it up to tension without it snapping. And when that happened, that's it. Get a new set of bolts. So I'm waiting on them. They should be here by the end of the month, if not early February. And that's when I can continue making the videos that I haven't published or anything for the series. And it looks like all my plans are going to go back even further until I get a new job. As on the 31st of 2020, I got told that I've essentially been made redundant. I was removed from the roster, and so I do not have any more working shifts. Thus, I cannot save up any more money and buy any more parts or anything at all. So, New Year's resolution is within January. I'm hoping to find another job that might set us back a month, maybe a couple more than 1 month, depending on what the pay rates are going to be like and what kind of work I'm going to be doing. The shed's not changing much at all. It's always going to be messy, unfortunately. That's just how things are. It's horrible. There's the old engine that was from the wreckers, not out of the car from the wreckers, but out of literally the wrecking yard that we went and picked it up from. As you can see, Pajero's still in bits and pieces. Dad wants to put it out the front, regardless of the condition it's currently in. He doesn't want the head installed. He doesn't want nothing done, which is weird. I think in one way we could actually put the head on, and we haven't got a problem when we put the head on. We have the problem when we decide what we want to do with the injection pump. So I think we are safe to put the head on without issues. We only have the problem with the injection pump. The only problem is when you put the head on, then the timing becomes a bit of a pain to work out where everything's meant to be and where it goes. And the easiest way to turn over the motor without issues with the timing is to take the rocker arms off. We now have roller rocker arms for this engine, meaning it should sound a little bit nicer and smooth. It should run smoother and it should work a little bit nicer. I have no idea how it's going to go, but it's been adjusted to take the roller rocker arms. Now, as I said, my car is still running using the old engine. Here's my car. As you can see, it's still dribbling oil, and we know why it leaks oil. We definitely know why it leaks oil, and until we put a new engine in that car, it's not going to not leak oil. The reason it leaks oil is because of the compression from the cylinders is sort of helping to push oil out through the high pressure point in the engine, which is the oil pump. There is the crank seal that's been replaced several times in its life, several times recently, OEM stuff and so on and so forth. Then we have the spline got replaced because of it leaking and having issues. And potentially even, we haven't even put any sealant on the crank there to potentially even stop the keyway from leaking. So I don't know if that would be an issue, but it never was before. So who knows, maybe that is a part of the issue and we don't even realise it yet. probably the keyway leaks oil, and we should probably put sealant on it before installing it, and maybe doing that with the new engine too, which I think we have not done. Officially, we haven't actually done that. We've got the pulley, the pump on, got the spline in. Yeah, I think we might have to consider doing that before putting it all together properly. That should prevent another leak occurring there, and it should focus all the attention to where it's meant to be, having the oil and flow and all that stuff happen. So recently we had someone in the channel talking about a V6, but it's a 3.5 litre. My dad's is the 3.0, the 6G72, whereas the 3.5 is a 6G74 from top of my memory. I could be right, could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. And he has a timing issue. Now, on my dad's car, he said he had to lower the pump. That was, I think, because the pump was either advanced, the timing gears were either advanced one tooth or behind one tooth, and I think dropping the pump pulled the tooth forwards, and if you're advanced ahead, then you got to raise it to get it back in timing. I think that's how it works, because we kept having it out about half a tooth, and that's how we managed to fix it. Dad fixed it. Now, the reason that we had this issue wasn't my fault. We changed the water pump, and from changing those belts several times over, double checking everything before it all goes back together again, and that's what we always did, make sure all the timing marks line up, turned over the engine a couple times to verify, it was out half a tooth. Now, from my assessment, I said, okay, I've done this many times, it's out, there's something's changed, and I can't figure out other than, after working on it for ages, I was like, the only thing that's changed on this is the water pump, Dad. I think the water pump's positioning is wrong, and that's what the problem is. So my dad decides he's going to try and work it out. He asked me, I showed him how to do the belt and install it and get it all on from my plenty of practice that I had from that point in time. And then he went ahead and he ended up filing out the holes for the water pump, and that voids the warranty on those things. Apparently Kilkenny Castings made the water pump, and the casting was off essentially 1 millimeter or half a millimeter or something, and that caused all the grief we had with the timing belt issues. Now, I still have stuff I want to get for this engine and the car, and so many things I want to do to it before I finish it up, but there is just so much to consider. I also have another job I'm going to eventually have to do, and that is going to be getting the Fairlane cleaned up and organised yet again, because it is organised, just it takes up a bit of room. And if by 2030 it is to be assumed, this car will never get back on the road again, because 2030 is when they're going to start phasing out all these petrol engines and all these diesels and things. Like, I'm going to get a good 10 years out of mine, probably even longer if it gives me that. So enjoying it while it's around is going to be the awesome part about it. But if I can improve the emissions, it might be able to stick around longer with the environmental modifications that can be made to it. So instead of being an old school sort of car with all this old school tech, you bring it into something that's more modern, that just gives you that period of time extra that might get it across the line to stick around longer. And you'll want the efficiencies of the new generation plus the environmental side of things as well, because newer cars are producing more power with the same sort of fuel usage. That's what I'm getting at there. But it's the end of the farm's gone now, so there is no going up to the farm. There's no going to be full driving up there like I wanted to do one day. But couldn't save up enough money. That's just the thing. If you can't save the money, you can't do it. There wasn't really much you could do up there with the full drive anyway. It's got a lot of hills. There isn't no special tracks or anything. It's all just very general sort of terrain that they have up there, so it's nothing fancy. The neighbour probably has more fancier property with the roads like this. Ooh. It's a scary looking road he has there on the side of a mountain, which, you have the mountain going down like this, but his road comes through the mountain like that, and it has, down the very bottom, has a really sharp turn, and that's scary. But he does it to access the track, the fence, and so he can get up from the top of the hill down to the bottom on the neighbouring property. But, that's gone, and we shouldn't be worrying about it anymore, or thinking about it. But moving forward, if I want to own a place like that, I don't even know if I could ever do it in my lifetime, because that is $1 million premises. It's probably going to double in value by the time I could have potentially afforded something worth $1 million. But by the time I've saved up $1 million in my life, I'd probably be between 60 and 70, and I probably wouldn't be interested in it anymore. It'd be something that if you had family, they would be the ones who would really get the most out of that kind of an experience. So I can't give up if I want to have something like that. You have to keep pushing forward. Just like the cars, you've got to keep pushing forward them. But there's going to be a day, there's going to be a time when that stuff's going to be hard to keep and maintain, just because of how the world is changing. But in regards to the, what was it called, the Kyoto tokens, or whatever they were called, I don't remember what the names of them was, but they do not seem logical, because we're talking about, they're like a credit that says, we didn't produce emissions this year. But in practicality sense, we have produced those emissions practically these days. We're not saying we're going to claim any tokens, because it's a waste. That's a lie. We're lying to everyone if we're claiming these Kyoto token things. We are going to not claim them, and we're going to say, yeah, we are producing these emissions and we need to try and aim for this, but how can we achieve this without claiming that? And people are getting mad at Australia because Australia is looking at it as a fake system, and apparently in China they have this thing where they're saying, we don't produce any emissions, yet the air quality there is poor. Now they're not buying our coal, they don't have power in their country for lots of people, and it's causing drama. And they might be one of the cleanest cities right now just because of they're not producing stuff, but they've still got that smog going through, which is not good for them. I can't really say anything really more about that, because I don't really know what I can say. The fact is, those Kyoto tokens, Australia does not agree with what they represent, what they mean. Like, it's essentially claiming a period where your population could have produced this many emissions, but it didn't, and you're bringing that forward from the past. But shouldn't our goal not be to claim something from the past, but live in the present and the future? We need to improve the present and the future, not take something from the past and pretend that, the air quality is good now. The air quality is not getting any better. We're just saying that it is, and that's a lie. The truth is, we're still producing so many emissions, and trying to bring them down is a real challenge, because all these businesses have their way of operating, and there's new technology that may improve things, but for some businesses it's going to put them out of business because they cannot afford that stuff. And getting subsidized would help, but it's still a challenge, because even with subsidies, some of these businesses can't afford this equipment. Like, say for example, with metal manufacturing, we can use now powders to, additive printing. It means there's no huge production line of how we get a piece of metal from A to B anymore. It will reduce how much material they have to produce in that way, and it'll just be, here's a powder, and put it in your printer, and then it prints it. And then you can print your parts, and then final machine them afterwards. Instead of using lathes 100% of the time to make a part, or 50% of the time, and mills 100 or 50% of the time, you'll be using, 90% of the time that 3D printer to do the additive printing to make your parts out of any kind of metal just about. And, there's going to be times when it might not be true, but from what I've seen, the additive 3D printing method seems to be becoming much more viable now. You can make just about anything, and then there's no, loss of material. It's literally just making material from material, but not losing anything in the end. You say this has how much goes in, and then you have no excess. But you'll still have some excess because of, construction reasons why you'll have excess. But you won't have that same excess as you did in the past, like with these offcuts, or you have a big bar and then you need this ring edge, and then you have the offcut in the middle, and then some weird stuff where you have excess material that you have to machine, or drilling a huge hole for a piece of bar and then having to put a thread on it. Then you don't have that hole. You literally have printed out that whole thing, and then you machine it from the inside and you have your part. So additive technology means you do not have to drill through it anymore. It literally just makes the thing around it. My dad was commenting to me the other day about this, and he said, production time, how long is it going to take? Well, it's probably going to take longer, because printing is micron by micron, essentially, of how they additive material it. And when you have a piece of bar, it's like, well, how long does it take you to drill a hole through that bar? Not so long. So yeah, there is lots of different things we can think about with environmental friendliness. And I feel like there isn't really many channels that try to focus on being environmentally friendly at the same time trying to keep your stuff running good. I feel like the goal of my channel at this point in time should be to try and do something different. And I can't afford to do anything different, and I'm pretty sure people cannot afford to make their cars more environmentally friendly, and people sort of don't want to, because the downside is when you do go for something more environmentally friendly, you can actually lose performance, and no one likes the idea of losing performance. So how can we give you a little bit more while taking away the emissions? That should be the goal of what we try to achieve. Because if we look at new tech and then try to combine it with old tech, you can enjoy this old thing, gaining a little bit more out of it, but also putting a bit more into it. I read, bumped the camera. It's loose too. But I read somewhere that these engines are, the video had it in writing because it was Russian, that these crankshafts on this specific model are very prone to cracking the crank in half. So these essentially are down-tuned engines. The question is, what is the chance of that happening to the 4056s? Other than that, let's just think about it from a new perspective, because this is old tech, and we don't necessarily need to stick with the old tech. How can we make something that is common? They're still producing something the same these days as they were in the past. It's more refined. I know Cummins are more refined, and I know they have everything you want behind them, but at the same time, the problem is people have this one issue. It is very expensive to buy anything that's Cummins. Like, it's about 15 grand for a brand new Cummins motor. Guess what? That engine there, brand new, 15 grand. You can still potentially get them. I have no idea. I just seen the price. I could try to order one, but I don't have that kind of money to just go and buy one and be a smarty pants and just see what happens. Because it could end up coming back and saying nut rejected because it's too large to ship, or it's too this, or it's too that. I've had that with some of the stuff that I've tried to order for my car. The camera is going to fall out of this thing, so I'm going to just take it out. This is what I've been using my tripod, because I couldn't find the the actual stick. So before I end this video, because we're getting very close to 20-minute mark, I like my videos 20 and not too much longer. I tried to order one of these wool things, the firewall fabric material. It turns out they will not ship it, they will not sell it to me, so they gave me a refund because they cannot ship it without it getting damaged. Mine's damaged in my car, so I do need a new one, and the reason it got damaged is because I put a piece of metal at the back to help guide something in place, I think. It was a bit of a guide or something to stop something from happening, and I put it in through the firewall, and instead of going like against it to protect it, it ripped straight into it, because I was trying to avoid ripping it because it already got ripped, and I went through the rip and ripped it even more. That's the only reason I wanted to repair it, so it's nicer, it's neater. You wouldn't notice it now because the car's together, but it's in bits and pieces a little bit now. So let me give you a bit of a breakdown on what I'm planning to do with my car when I do get the chance. Before this video completely ends, it's 20 minutes essentially. Before we get to the very end, I'm going to run you down through what I'm going to do with the Mitsubishi Triton. So this is my car. I'm going to be removing eventually the vinyl wrap and getting this ready for painting. I'm going to see who I can get quotes for to see what I can do. I will get a brand new hood. This hood is a bit warped. It didn't come with the insulation, so it's warped probably from the heat distorting the hood, and that's not good. I was thinking of doing that, finding potentially ways to get more airflow through here, and maybe even clean up how the assembly is in front there. I'm going to try and see if I can get the flaps that go in here, the mud flaps, because I don't have enough that it would look odd and it wouldn't work if I was to just put it together. Maybe even eventually new rims, because look at the flakiness. These are just falling apart now, and I did paint them to protect them and stop the stuff from coming apart, but unfortunately that doesn't work. Some panel beating on the body. I'll probably get a new one of these fenders because it's expensive to just repair the panel apparently, and I do need a good solid hole. Maybe I'll just get this a little bit panel beaten and I'll do it myself maybe if I can do it. But if it's in not good condition, I can just buy a new one. It's not that expensive, about $170 for this. There's about $200 for that, or $300 for that. And, well, this aerial, I think I want to not go for a generic one. I think I want to go for a higher quality aerial and find a better place to put it. Potentially weld that hole up and fix it, or get a new panel. I want to get the insulation, and I want to paint this thing and make everything look as good as possible, including, you know, the rear tray doors, and fix everything I can possibly fix up on it, including the chassis, including replacing the exhaust, and rebuilding the front suspension, and rebuilding whatever's under the car that needs to be rebuilt, and get new cables for the braking system. And that's about all I can go for this video on what I want to do with my car. In the meantime, I should pack up here, go inside and do my work on my gamey stuff, because there's not really much I can do at the moment until I get some parts. But I do have a little bit of cleaning I could do. It's just I'm not really in the mood to do stuff at the moment because I haven't got no parts. I got nothing. Like, I can't make progress on this until I get parts. Once this goes together, then I can potentially focus on the gearbox, because running gear is critical. Without the mechanics, there is no dynamics. Okay, I don't know where I got the idea for dynamics from. It was just rhymed well, I think. But without the mechanical components working synchronously together and perfectly together, then there is no way that something beautiful can drive down the road and be reliable. It will look like junk and it will run well, okay? But when it looks good and it runs crap, where'd you spend your money? Was it worth spending your money? Absolutely not. Your money is in the mechanics and not in the, you know, factor of how it looks. You focus on the looks after you've got the mechanics right. So anyway, guys, I'm Michael the Mechanical. It looks like I'm going to be signing off, and this is the oil something we have to put in with that sump there. It's not bad. But I'm hoping to get this done eventually, soon as possible, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. I want my worries to just end. Dad wants a new exhaust. Aha, that's why we didn't put it together. He wants a new exhaust. But anyway, guys, my name is Michael the Mechanical. See you later.